much for that. Thank you very much for that intro, Sam. Let's get the music down here now. All right. Hey, that worked better than it usually works with Andy. So thanks for filling in for Andy as my announcer and sidekick, Sam. This is Sam Greenfield from New York on the Lower East Side. I'm Mark Sweetman from Los Angeles, North Hollywood to be precisely exact, from our West Coast studios. That sounds fancy. It's my son's apartment.
Give me a town you're closest to right now.
I am in North Hollywood, District of Los Angeles. Well, you know Los Angeles.
That's not a town.
They give you
like Burbank.
It's all the city of Los Angeles. They just do. Okay, the nearest town would be Burbank. We're about 12 blocks from Burbank.
Near the airport.
Very near the airport. In fact, at 7:30 in the morning, we hear about 14 or 15 planes take off. And then it quiets down during the day, and then after business is done at night, from about
what do they call that now? John Wayne International, or
about 14 or 15 more planes take off. It's pretty much a business. No, John Wayne is in Orange County. That's down in Santa Ana. This is called the Bob Hope Burbank Hollywood Airport.
So hard to find right-wing entertainers.
Bob Hope would fly from here to Bob Hope, was at NBC all the time. It's right down. Yeah. Well, Bob Hope, he only worked for NBC, so he didn't need to go to LAX because this airport is right near the NBC studios, or what was the NBC studios.
Did you know that Johnny Carson couldn't stand having Burbank? Did you know that Johnny Carson couldn't stand having him on the show?
Yeah, I knew that.
It was so it was so funny.
He didn't mention it publicly,
but it was so funny the way he did it. Joe Flaherty, he goes, Bob Hope, I love the man. I do. He's a god. But one has to ask himself, what kind of human being comes on your show and does nothing but stock jokes every second he's on? Every damn second. Or he's going to mention Chrysler so much, you think we're all supposed to buy shares. But I love the man. I love God.
Yeah. Well, our normal format, Sam, when Andy's introducing us, is to bring Susan on. So we're going to bring her on next.
And now, without
she's got a poem ready to go.
Don't allow me to bring the poet goddess of the off night, Susan Salisbury Sweetman.
Thank you.
Yay. Thank you.
Don't take everybody down. You can leave everybody up, and I can do the poem.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, you want to bring in our next guest, and then I'll do the poem. And I have a homework assignment for you all. So I need to compile my poetry. And if you have any memorable off-night poems that I've done that you thought were exceptional, let me know next week. And because I may want to consider those in my compilation of poetry that I'm sorting through.
I'm not saying this to blow smoke, but I really think that the vast majority of what you do is really good. So I would be hard pressed to actually bring one up that would surpass the others.
Okay. Well, sleep on it, think about it, talk amongst yourselves.
Well played.
That's an assignment.
Let me. The other guys are here. So now he had called me earlier today, so I knew he might be a little bit late.
You might enjoy,
Andy.
Susan.
Here's
What's that?
Hi guys. Sorry I'm late.
Andy.
Sorry I'm late.
I'm getting some advice.
Hey, welcome to the off night. Okay.
I have a mini fracture in my back.
Sam filled in. Is
that what you wanted to tell me? Your back is sore?
Well, no, it's a mini fracture. I fell about months ago.
Oh shoot!
It's not.
Let's get Jason. Let's get Jason out here too.
Yeah, let's get Jason on.
All right, here's well.
Wow, Jason became
because Susan wanted to read her.
What the hell is that?
Put the sound down in the background. Get rid of that.
Jason's going to sing "Tomorrow Belongs to Me."
in a wonderful.
Sam was about to give me words of wisdom. What was it, Sam?
Yeah, and so, I was supposed to call for a physical therapist, and the person never called me back. And my wife calls me, talks to me every, I don't know, 32 seconds. Did you get the therapist? Did you get the therapist? Did you get the therapist? So I've just reached the point where I go, I wanted to wait till I was in such abject pain that I would pass out. Then I'll call him. And she goes, oh, you think you're funny? I know I'm funny, but if you keep asking me the same fucking question every goddamn day, it just is too much. It's too much. This is the reason I date really young, stupid girls. They don't ask a goddamn thing except, can you pay for this? That's it.
So did you want a poem about that? Or
No, because the only word I can think that rhymes with is something the audience doesn't want to hear.
Oh. Instead, we'll
somebody
you want your poem?
Somebody has some background music.
No, I take Oxy for it. I take Oxycodone.
Okay.
Not until the background sound comes out.
Poem, Mark, would you like tonight's poem?
Yes, let's hear tonight's.
Here we go. Quiet on the set. The Dodgers
I would
won
like
the
tonight's
World
poem.
Series.
And I would also like to whoever
talking. Quiet on the set meant nothing.
Wow, he interrupted her like Joe Scarborough does Mika Brzezinski.
No.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready, Susan.
Turn everyone off and leave me alone on the screen to read my poem. Okay. Here goes. The Dodgers won the World Series in the 5th game, and New York perhaps should feel a little shame. Producing the Heavenly Choir, I heard someone say the great Quincy Jones sadly died yesterday. In Hollywood, the sorrow is greatly felt. Terry Garr has left us. We'll miss her, no doubt. Election tomorrow in the great U.S. of A. Hope annoying texts and phone calls will all stop on that day. And that's your poem.
Thank you.
That was very nice.
Very nice.
All right.
Okay.
I was hoping you.
I think I'm going to have to go to my other.
Okay.
One little sports note.
Yes, sir.
Garrett Cole said he was playing out his option with the New York Yankees. And now he's not playing out his option. He's going to stay with the Yankees.
Oh, wow.
And I was talking to a friend of mine who's a Yankee fan, and he said to me, why do you think he's staying with the Yankees? I said, there's one other team that did better this year than the Yankees, and they don't want him. So why would he leave the Yankees?
Mm-hmm.
Why would he leave them? You're going to go to the 9th best team, the 12th best team, the 3rd best? No, they're the best team other than the Dodgers. Of course you're going to stay with them.
Oh, yeah.
Or go where the money is.
And he makes, you're not going, how old do you think he is? 30-something, 30-something?
I don't know.
He's not going to get more money than he has now.
Yeah,
he's just not
near the end of his career.
Yeah. Well, he's not like, what's that guy's name with the Dodgers who really is at the end of his career? He's a Hall of Famer. I can't think of his name, but he's not at the end of his career, but he's not going to see an 8-year contract or anything like that.
Right.
So, just, thank everybody and take the money and shut up.
Well, on that note, have a great week. Don't forget to vote.
Oh,
if you haven't already.
You know what? You know where I have to go to vote, Susan?
Oh, she's gone.
Oh, she left.
Downstairs.
Where you have to go? Where you have to go to vote?
Downstairs in my building.
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
nice.
One
floor down.
One floor down, and you can go down there and devastate the world with your.
They asked me if I wanted to participate in registering, into taking people's names down to vote.
Uh-huh.
And I said, I am a patriot, and I would appreciate the offer, but I know the people who live in this building, and I'll be 5 seconds away from just cold cocking somebody. Absolutely just laying their ass out. How come I have to vote? because no one likes you, and it's your only chance to be able to talk to people. Now shut up.
Why do we have to vote? Why can't we live in a country that doesn't have votes? I think that would be a great thing. Really?
Well, don't worry. By this time next election cycle, you might have your wish. So
I know.
Don't worry about a thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Join me in O Canada.
Oh yes. Oh Canada.
Oh dear.
So much a prettier song than ours.
It's
our song glorifies war. You know, it's hard to sing. It's very hard to sing our song.
The English translation of the French national anthem. You think our songs are tough? They're singing about watering the dirt with the blood of your enemies after they kill your mother and your children. The La Marseillaise is amazing.
Well, I'm not a fan of their song either. Although that scene in Casablanca where they sang La Marseillaise is wonderful.
Yeah, it is. But that's all. Rise up and form, and march on, and we're gonna kill every single last one of you.
In French, it was beautiful. Okay, just don't destroy the idea.
Don't spoil it for you.
Don't spoil it for us. Every time they sing a song in French, it could be anything. They're singing about dicks, but it's still very.
You know what I'd love to sing? I'd love to see what was his name? Paul Henri.
Yes.
Paul Henri. He encourages the French people at Rick's Cafe, to sing La Marseillaise. I would give anything if they'd go like this. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Oh.
Yes. That would be great.
It's like walking into the bathroom after Catherine Deneuve walks out. It's like, oh no, I didn't need that. That we don't want to.
We don't need all that. That's right.
No,
we don't need to spoil the image. We need
no.
This woman walks.
Enough of that.
Yeah, or Gina, sitting next to Gina Lollobrigida after a chili tasting contest. There's more.
Frank Santarelli did a joke once. He said, I went to see my proctologist, and it was a very difficult time for me because, God, I don't know. I must have spent 20 minutes while he was taking care of me saying, would you mind not doing that?
Oh, my goodness.
I've never seen Frank set. I got to see it sometime.
Frank is so funny. And you know what's amazing?
Where does he most often work?
Boston, all Boston.
Okay. All right. Next time.
And when I say, I don't mean just Boston, but Boston and its environs. And he tolerates things that I just couldn't, because he has to work with Lenny Clark. Oh, this is the story I wanted to tell you guys. I don't think I told you. Lenny Clark's brother Mike is a comedy promoter.
Right.
And I didn't tell you this, right? Right. And he just contracted with a guy to have a room that holds 290 people. And so it was going to be Lenny Clark, this young, I don't know any names, this female comic, Santarelli, and some other guy. And it was a nightmare. And the reason it was a nightmare is because Lenny Clark is he's over the hill. He's he starts telling ruthlessly bad racist jokes, mean-spirited jokes. And then
it's not even funny at that point.
Is he back in Boston?
Oh yeah. Oh, you mean that show he did, that comedy show?
No, I'm talking. He was doing extra work out here. He was doing pretty well.
No. That ship has sailed. No, he burns too many bridges.
Oh,
so this guy comes on, and it's Frank, who's very funny. This girl who talks about loving anal sex because that's the only way anybody will pay her to get her son into private school. I swear to God, that she thinks that's funny. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. And there's 6 waitresses in this place, right? 6 waitresses, 5 white, 1 African American. And this guy comes on stage, and he says, we have 6 waitresses here, and 5 of them are white, And then, God makes mistakes. So we have this one. And he points to the black.
Oh, no.
Oh,
no.
So the other waitresses say, we're not going to work. Fuck him. We're not going to work. And the owner says, you'll either work right now or I'll fire you and I'll make it my life's work to see you never get another job waiting tables in a comedy club. So, they had to back down. The money's good and all that, right? So they all do the show, including the black waitress. And Lenny's terrible. And the female comic is horrible. And Mike, and he says to Mike Clark, I'm not doing this again. We're not having comedy here. I'm not going to do it. And Mike says, well, why not? He says, I hate your comedians. He says, it's not that I hate their comedy. I hate them.
Wow.
They're terrible people. They're miserably unfunny. I don't need it. And I don't need to have one of my waitresses wiping tears off her face because one of your people is a stone racist. So goodbye. Now you think about that. You pay like a $20 cover, okay? So that's 290 times 20 is $5,800. 2 shows a night, $11,600.
right.
And Lenny Clark pissed that away for him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just pissed it away.
Yeah, in this day and age, you can't be pissing away $11,000, or any.
And the thing, it was no one. It wasn't fun. It wasn't. No one asked him. Just get up and tell your jokes. Jesus.
Do the comedians ever get a split on the bar, or is that pretty much the club owner? That's where his money is.
That's the club owner. Once in a blue moon, you'll see that, but as a rule, no.
During the big times, to keep some of these comics that were starting to hit in the clubs,
right.
The big agencies in New York and LA would sometimes get a cut of the
concession.
They'd almost always get the door if they were a big name, like when Seinfeld and Leno were still doing clubs.
Rich Jenny would get it.
Yeah.
Rich Jenny would get the door. They'd always, in other words, you worked for anywhere. Headliners made from like $1,500 to $3,500, unless you were a name that was Richard Lewis. Everybody knew who Richard Lewis. If they knew your name, you'd probably get the door, and then and they'd raise the prices. A $15 ticket would suddenly be $35, and they'd make a bunch of money. But there were some performers, like Kathleen Madigan is one right now. She still mostly does theaters, but she'll do about 2 or 3 clubs that she came up with. The Castle is one of them, so I know they do this, where she not only gets the door, they increase the prices, but they'll give her a cut of the drink money too, because they do so well at the bar, because she sells out 5 shows when she's in town. So.
I used to do this country song. I asked for the door and they gave me the gate. This is my famous Yoder story, where I was working with I can't remember what his name was now, but he was an up and coming young black comic, and he was all right. You could tell he was going to be good once he got about 4 or 5 years underneath him, but he was still kind of raw and young and everything. And they were putting him in Yoderville, where so he's working like places he never would have gone on his own. He was a young black kid that's not going to be working in Traverse City. So we go up to Traverse City. Do you ever work the Traverse City room, Sam? I did not.
Andy, did you ever work it?
I think I did once with Tim Lilly.
Oh, okay. So we go up there, and they had, the previous times I'd been there, we had a hotel accommodations, but the owner, like a lot of owners do, says, well, how about I just rent this house or buy this house and, make sure it's got a couple of, they called it the comedy condo. And this particular one was the upstairs of a giant duplex. In fact, it was very big rooms, but the downstairs was a home for wayward girls, basically girls that got pregnant.
Right on, brother.
Upstairs.
The comedians were upstairs. Yeah, the comedians were upstairs, and we get in there, and there's 2 bedrooms, a living area, and a bathroom, and there's only one door. Of those 3 rooms that were separated from the living area, only one bedroom, no door on the bathroom, and one of the bedrooms didn't have a door. So I called up Yoder and I said, hey, there's only one door here. And he says, the headliner gets the door. I go, oh, I thought that was going to be my pay this week when you told me that.
You got so excited for a minute.
Isn't that a great story though? The headliner gets the door. He's not talking about the take at the ticket booth. He's talking about the comedy condo. The headliner gets the door. That's gonna be the title of my book when I write my memoir on doing comedy.
Now I can't remember this guy's name, but he was good friends with Rodney Dangerfield. Very straight comic. God, he was a nice guy. I can't remember his name, but he and I were working one night in DC. And he puts his hand on my shoulder and he says, do you know why Rodney makes the amount of money he makes? And I said, no. He says, because when he started, he made shit. He said, that's why. Oh, God, I'd give anything I remember his name. He was as straight as 6 o'clock. Funny guy, very easy to work with. I'll never remember his name. I don't think he still works, but nice guy. I just cannot remember his name. But he said, you know, Rodney had this, I guess you would call it idiosyncrasy. When Rodney started doing comedy, his wife said to him, you got to stop. You're never home. I never see you. You have to quit. So Rodney quit and he became a tin man, you know, guys who sell aluminum siding.
Yeah, he sold aluminum siding, yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a scam, by the way, back then.
Huh?
That was quite a scam back then.
Still is. And you saw Tin Men. Life Magazine's going to put a car on my front lawn. Yeah. So he, God, that was a great movie. Oh my God. Anyway, so he, his wife passes away and he goes back to doing comedy because he promised her he would not do it anymore. She dies. Well, you know, the promises are done. The promises are promised, and I kept it. And so he comes back. Now he's about 38, 39 years old.
He was also Jackie Roy the first time he came back. And
and his real name was Jacob Cohen, which makes more sense. Yeah. And so...
Jacob Cohen sounds more like the guy that books you, not the guy... not the performer.
Well, Jacob Cohen sounds more like the guy who caters the bar mitzvah.
Exactly, yeah.
And so
15%.
Yeah, exactly. So how much are you going to ask for me? So I don't work for free, you know. Yeah. So he comes in and he's like 40, you know. And most of the guys who started at that time were like 30, 29, 28, 26. And they treated him like dog shit. They were so mean to him. Like, okay, Pop, if you can make it over to this door, that kind of thing. Just terrible for no reason to be terrible.
Yeah.
And Rodney had a huge boner about it for the rest of his career. And so one day he's talking to this young comic, and the comic says to him, you know, I'd really like to work with you. And Rodney just tears his ass open. He goes, oh, you want to work with me? It'd be a privilege to work with me? Fuck you. Okay? You're not working with me. In fact, I'm going to tell the owner to fire you after this set. How do you like that sack of shit? And I'm standing there. My eyes are like, the fuck is he talking about? And Rodney always liked me because I never asked him for anything except weed. And he had 500 pounds of that, so it didn't matter. But I said to him, so I said, why did you bust this guy's balls like that? And he told me the story. All these young comics treated him like shit. And he swore that the first chance that if any came out, oh, I'd love to work with you. Yeah, go fuck yourself. So I said, you and I are all right, aren't we? And he goes, for now. And I said, he said, you don't ask for shit except my weed. I said, oh, Rodney, what are you down to? 80 pounds? Stop it. Christ, Rodney. You could run a didgeridoo with the shit you have left. and so Rodney was so funny with me. He comes up to me, he goes, so Sammy, I saw your act. What the fuck happened? and then Eddie Murphy tells the story that when he first started, you know, he was a baby when he started.
16.
Eddie. He's 16, 17 years old. Yeah.
15, I think.
And so he's working at this club he's working at this club in New York, and just starting out, right? And he finishes his set, and like 2 years later, he's doing Trading Places.
Yeah.
1 year later, he's doing 48 Hours. I mean,
Yep.
He's killing. So
he was on his way.
He tells the story that he's in the bathroom taking a leak, and Rodney walks in, unbeknownst to Eddie, and he's taking a leak, and Rodney's taking a leak next to him, and he looks over and sees Eddie, and he goes, "Who knew?"
I never worked with Eddie, but Rodney, whenever I was emceeing and Rodney came in, I would always say, he liked the intro I gave him, because it was basically, you guys got a special treat. This guy doesn't need an introduction other than his name. Here's Rodney. And then he would come on. And one time he came in and he had his bathrobe on. And
his blue bathrobe.
Yeah, his blue bathrobe. And he went up on stage on it. And my outro, he loved my outro. I said, Rodney Dangerfield. People think that's a costume that he does just for the show. He lives here. He lives here at the Improv. You thought that was funny.
People didn't appreciate that, but it's truer than you make out. But it is truer.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember, in fact, it was in a book that Andy had given me about Rodney Dangerfield, and how he initially had pissed off Carson somehow. And he's one of the very few people who was ever able to apologize to Johnny in a sufficient manner, such that he was able to get back on the show. I mean, apparently this was.
I tell you what, some of his later appearances. Some of his later appearances on the Tonight Show, though, they do compilations of those on YouTube.
Ooh. And it's Hall of Fame. It's Hall of Fame material.
Yeah. He's got Carson in stitches.
Yeah.
So whatever he did to offend Carson, he made up for it.
I thought Carson was going to bust a gut, and it wasn't a joke that Rodney told. He tells one punchline after another, and then he stops. He goes, "So what do we have now?" And Carson just fell down. Just that, like this very off-putting. And also he did this thing where if he told a joke and it didn't go anywhere, he would look up at the mic.
Yes.
Like it's the mic,
Rickles was able to do something along those lines too. When he'd start riffing, I mean, he was always able to sort of just keep things moving along. And obviously we all know Don Rickles' material. I mean, but yet, and maybe that's the difference between him and Lenny Clark, in that Rickles was abrasive and whatnot, but he never got really mean. I mean, he walked a fine line here and there. But I mean,
Rodney worked, and here's the other thing: Rodney worked clean.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they all work clean.
Not all the time.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
not all the time.
When
you saw Rodney do a show on even on HBO, okay, it was clean.
Yeah.
And the thing was that Lenny's like a guy who, if the doctor tells you if you smoke one more cigarette you're going to die, he lights up and goes, "I'm sorry, what?" He doesn't know when to stop. He has no idea what limits are.
Right.
Whatever the limits are, he ignores them. And it's sad because he's a great comedian, but he doesn't. And also, I told you the story about Billy, the writer Billy Martin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What he did to him. Billy said something to Lenny, who was coked up out of his mind. And he beat him up so badly, he sent him to the hospital. And then he went outside and broke down crying. So he calls Billy from at the hospital, and he says, "I just want you to know I'm going to pay for your entire hospital bill. And now, if you don't mind, could you put your wife on the phone, because I'd like to apologize to her." And I thought, that was very generous, but you're a piece of shit. I mean, what are you doing? You beat a guy so bad you sent him to the hospital because you can't control your coke?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've told the story of Pat Cooper being suggested to apologize to Mrs. Sinatra, and the
I love that story.
the rather direct method that was used.
The one where he insulted Sinatra's mother.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite stories.
Well, you know the best part of that story is that when you're telling the story, if you're doing it correctly, there's a gun in Pat Cooper's mouth.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm what I just happened, and it won't happen again.
It'll never happen again.
And by the way, you know, Dolly Sinatra, Frank's mother, not known to many people. You know what she did for a living, right? She was an abortionist.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I had no idea.
Yeah, but you know that's that was okay. You know, there were girls who got pregnant and couldn't go to the hospital, so you know she took care of them. You know, and Frank, you know, that's one of the reasons Frank said my mother has saved more lives than many doctors, because she was good at it. You know, and I met her one time in 1980, and she made me laugh. She really made me laugh. Fortunately, she did it on purpose. I finished my set, and I walked by her, and I knew it was her, and she goes, "You know, you're very funny. Not that good, but you're funny." And she goes, "I'm just kidding. You're a very nice kid." I go, "Am I?" She goes, "Not so much, but it's all right. Don't worry about it." And Sinatra said, "My mother likes you." I said, "Well, you have to tell your mother I'm married." And he laughed. So I'll tell you a story about Sinatra. Sinatra was waiting to catch a plane. My sister worked as a reservationist at United Airlines. And he's trying to, in a nice way, kind of weasel his way up to the front of the line. You know, and he said to people, "Could you please let me in? If I don't miss this plane," you know, and they were like, "Oh, it's Sinatra, sure," you know. So he gets to the front and he says, "Could I please?" He says, "Mr. Sinatra, go to the part of the line where you were, please. Other people are waiting too." And he did.
Huh?
And he did.
The guy didn't disappear after that. And
I prefer missing. Missing.
Yeah.
No. He said, "You know, what could I do? I tried, I failed." You know, there were sometimes. Listen, there were some times he was a horrendous human being, and there were some times that he was a very nice guy. So you know, he's 60, not that different from other people.
60 years in show business, you're gonna have good days and bad. You know, what are you gonna do?
Any business, you know.
Right. I mean, at least
you would have a terrible time.
Like John Holmes, where after his tenure was come to an end and he was reaching near the end of his life, and he was just begging his current wife to make sure that he gets buried intact because he was afraid that parts of him would end up floating in a jar, which would have been appropriate given
a la Dillinger.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know that. I'm not sure why I'm connecting, Sinatra with John Holmes, but there we go. I mean, that's the way my mind works. So what can I tell you guys?
There was a picture in Playboy magazine of John Holmes's penis,
his unit,
with a bath towel draped around it. And somebody said, "What do you think happened to it?" I said, "I might be the last person on the planet who knows the answer to that question." Of all the questions you could ask me, you're better off expecting me to answer, you know, how did quantum theory come around? How do I know?
The only thing useful that came out of him was that some of his story and some other stories were weaved into what became Boogie Nights, which was a good movie. And it was great for Burt Reynolds' career. And Sam, you've mentioned how Burt did not like the movie. He didn't like it.
Hated it.
And you know, you're absolutely right about that. You know, but it did wonders for his career because he.
And you know what's funny about it? He hated it so much, he fired his
manager. Right. Fired his manager. I heard.
But he still ended up at least with an Academy Award nomination. He really should have gotten.
Who won that year? Robin Williams.
Yeah, well, I say it's probably, you know, when Shakespeare in Love wins, at that point, do you just like, okay, I'm done.
I was so pissed off that
I'm over. It's over.
I was so pissed off that beat out Saving Private Ryan.
I mean, or the year that Gandhi wins, and and other great movies are kind of left by, or Cabaret wins and The Godfather doesn't. Although, to be fair, Cabaret is a good movie. I mean, it's not like it's a bad movie; it's a great movie. But
how about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that makes you buy a table at the induction ceremony, even if you're being inducted?
Yeah,
is that true?
Yes.
Yes, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame makes even the honorees have to buy a table.
And now you know why people hate Cleveland.
Yes,
I mean, I don't think it's Cleveland. I think it's the Hall of Fame.
Well, Cleveland, city of light.
Jason, do you know they're inducting this year? They're inducting the MC5.
It's about time.
Wow.
The Stooges were
and people are pissed about it. Jason, people are pissed about it because they didn't do it until after they're all gone.
Yeah, they're all
gone. Dennis and Wayne died last year. They're the last two of the five. God. And now that they're gone, now they're going to induct them.
In a world without Wayne Kramer. Oh my God, that's.
Well, Quincy Jones died yesterday.
Yeah, yes, but he leaves behind a catalog that is so breathtakingly impressive. From doing, he did the theme to Ironsides. I mean, how many different things did he arrange? He's the one who counseled. What's his name?
He wrote the Sanford and Son theme song. One of my favorites.
His best.
They asked a question on Facebook. What do you think is the best thing to come out of Quincy Jones? And I wrote Rashida Jones.
Rashida Jones. There you go.
She's good.
I mean, but of course, the big news over the weekend was that Peanut the Squirrel, Sam, living in the neo-fascist state of New York, I'm sure has heard of the sad execution. And I've just been waiting to use this. You know me. I'd like to point out that Cecil the Lion, Harambe, and Peanut the Squirrel were all executed during Democrat regimes. This is my one cheap lowbrow. MAGA.
His most successful album in terms of Grammys and sales was The Dude.
Well, I would have figured he produced Michael Jackson's stuff.
He produced, but that's Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying? That's Michael Jackson's thing. But and my favorite thing is anything he did with James Ingram.
Yeah, he also worked with George Benson, and he helped him rearrange on Broadway. And you
did you say George Benson?
George Benson,
the guitarist and singer. One of the greatest.
I know of whom you speak. I just didn't hear you.
Yeah, one of the greatest guitarists, but he took on Broadway. You remember that became a big hit, but it was a very different arrangement from the one the Drifters had done, which was very dirgy and very morose. And the George Benson, he changed the rhythm of the song, and you have to listen to him. He's a musician. I'm not, but it changed the song significantly, but it turned it into a hit yet again. And that was Quincy Jones who helped him do the arrangement on that. Because Quincy at first said, "You can't do this." And George said, "Really? Watch me." And sure enough, they did it. They pulled it off. George Benson is another one who's just, it deserves to be carved under the Mount Rushmore of American music. I don't know if it'll happen. It should, but we'll see.
Did you ever hear the story that when Quincy Jones was working for Sinatra, Sinatra called him Q?
Really?
And he was the only one that could do that. Somebody else, I guess, tried to call him Q because Sinatra's calling him, and he says, "No, Mr. Sinatra is the only one that gets to call me Q."
Sinatra can do that. Yeah.
What I thought was really funny was Gary Trudeau did this. I love this. When they did "We Are the World," they had this sign: "Leave your ego at the door."
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
And they showed this caption, and all you see is, you don't see who they're talking about. You just see the quote from the person, and all these famous people are coming in, Kenny Rogers and Paul Simon, and Michael Jackson, and it says, "Ego? What ego? I'm sorry, Mr. Ross, those are the rules."
Yeah. Has anyone worked harder to really be renowned for being such a pain in the ass as Diana Ross?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
She deserves, from my understanding, she deserves every bit of derision that comes her way. And it's a pity because she's a wonderfully talented human being, but the social graces not so much. When Flo Ballard died, and yeah, I'm sure you remember this, Mark. She didn't go to the funeral.
Yeah, I know.
And Flo died in very humble circumstances.
Well, you know what happened. No, Flo, she didn't know because the boy she loves is a Romeo.
Yeah, I mean, she's a, and when they what is it?
When they did the train station the train station show this summer, right. Eminem produced that, right. And he didn't really produce it. He just was the one that made all the phone calls.
Well, there is something to be said about the guy who gets everyone in the room. And
yeah, well, he did, and I guess from what I heard, I wasn't there when it happened, but from what I heard, his discussion with Dinah Ross was, "Do you want me to be the most famous Detroiter on the show?" She goes, "All right, I'll do it. I'll do it."
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what a good producer does. That's what a good producer does. Whatever it takes to get your talent.
Whatever it takes to get up there. Exactly.
That's right. If I have to promise Mr. Ed that he's going to be in the Godfather sequel, even though I know that
Mr. Ed, that's hysterical. Oh, very good, very good. Oh
sequel,
man,
yeah, Ed. Listen, I'm sure we can work something out, but let's get the first one out of the way, okay, Andy? You like that? You like it? Good. It's going to take a lot of commitment on your part, but
That's hysterical. Oh my God.
Thank you. Earlier today, I haven't been on stage in a while, but I was performing in the sauna today, and I know what you guys are thinking. I know. I'm serious. I was doing. There's like 6 guys in there, and everyone's of course doing what we do in the sauna. A daisy chain. No, it was just fun to do.
That's your sauna. That doesn't happen. Yeah. That doesn't happen at my sauna. That's your
actually,
sauna.
This was just a regular. No, I mean it was just nice to have a bunch of guys just laughing their asses off, so to speak. Just doing the stuff you've heard me do a million times about. You've heard my rants. There's no need for me to do it, but I was doing sort of an abbreviated kind of rant that was appropriate for a sauna, and it was just fun to see a bunch of guys sitting there. You know
what? Jason, you got to bring that to your act at the Unclub because
somehow.
You got to use the line appropriate for a sauna. That's just funny. I'm sorry.
There's a Russian steam bath. That's what it's called, the Russian steam bath.
Right.
Here in New York on the Lower East Side, on 10th Street, and it's just an old. You pour cold water on yourself, and it's a sauna, and it's wonderful, right?
Yeah.
So this guy says to me, he's a friend of mine, but he says to me, "Do you ever feel intimidated when you go in there?" I go, "Why would I feel intimidated?" Well, there's all these guys in great shape, and I said, "Do you know how old I am? You have any idea how old I am?"
Exactly. Exactly.
Do you know at what stage of my life I left? Gee, I hope no one is looking. Dead in the middle of the road. I paid to get in.
Right.
I'm taking a nice steamer. It's fine. I don't care. I said, and I said, and they have a separate section for women. And I said, the odds to my having a woman come into the other side and see me and go, oh, are so astronomically small that it can't be meaningfully measured. I said, I'm just going in there to get a steam. I said, at my age, if you're going in there to get action, you are delusional and probably need to be neutered.
Well, my gym is not I make the joke, my gym is not a gay gym till I show up. You've heard me use that many times. Whole you've got you've got a dad bod. No, it's not. And Sam, I'm much like you. I mean, I'm at the point now. Like when I'm here, I'm on business. This is not about fun. I'm trying to to stave off death in some meaningful way.
Hold it off as best you can. That's right.
By the way, back when I was in prison, Russian steam room meant something very different. But never mind that. That's when you owed someone money, but you had to go to the Russian steam room to work your
and also, when I was a kid, if you had a steamer, it was a whole other thing.
It was a very different affair. But again, it was just fun to sit there and crack up a bunch of dudes, and without having to drop my towel and say, "Hey guys, look at this." What does this remind you of? Or anything along those lines. It was fun to have that little repertoire at hand and be able to use it in that. And again, I had an audience of 6. And,
by the way, I saw something I thought was funny.
Wonderful.
This story came out, I'm sure you all saw it, that Iowa was going towards Kamala Harris. Now, I don't believe that. I just don't.
No.
But they asked this guy, what's his name? He's a pollster, mostly rightward leaning. He's got a toque.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Is that Larry?
You mean the right-leaning pollster with a toupee? I don't know. I'm trying to eliminate anybody on that one.
I don't know, but I want to use him as my Grindr profile.
No, but he's very well respected. He's very well respected.
Not Larry Sabato?
Huh?
Not Larry Sabato or Sabato?
No.
Okay.
No, he's more neutral than this guy.
Okay.
I can't remember the guy's. Anyway, so they asked him, what do you think is going to be the do you think that he'll carry Iowa, that Kamala Harris will carry Iowa? And he said, does it matter what I think?
No.
I've never heard a pollster say that.
That's funny.
Because it's like,
there's a guy ready to retire.
Yeah, he's had it. Yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. If she carries it, fine. It's going to be close. I think she's going to win, but it doesn't matter if she wins because he's going to protest it till the end of time.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
Hillary still hasn't conceded for 2016, so I don't know. John Kerry was still swallowing and wallowing.
Talk about your sore losers.
And Al Gore with his, although the one thing I like
Al Gore handled it better than any of them.
Well,
Al Gore basically said it. Yeah.
David Boyce, I mean, even though I didn't agree with the side Boyce was on, his arguments before the Supreme Court were masterful. They genuinely were.
Great lawyer.
Yes, he is. Or David Boyce, I think is the but yeah, I mean, just hell of a lawyer.
There has never been a group of lawyers, and I'm not saying it's because he's Trump's lawyers, but it has never been a group of lawyers more incompetent than Trump's lawyers in 2020. Ever.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
2020. How about 21, 22, 23, and 24?
No,
he hasn't had
really,
representation.
2020 sets the pace. They're the template. This is what all bad lawyering should aspire to. This is the sort of thing like you could make a Broadway musical start. Mel Brooks could write the screenplay.
Yeah, when your law degree comes from Ed's school of arguing shit, it just and the reason is, as you know, Trump doesn't pay.
Well, I mean, the chick talking about she was gonna release the Kraken and it's like, dude, you cannot. You're behind the curve. But I would also argue, and I don't want to get all political tonight because I'm so tired of it. But the thing is, if you guys had just left Trump alone, chances are right now you'd be facing Ron DeSantis, and you would be on the cusp of a 47-state landslide victory.
Oh, wait a minute! Did you hear about this?
What
Ron
now?
DeSantis. This is so horrible. Ron DeSantis is taking money away from money to what is that shit called? It's
who knows? I mean, he's doing all kinds.
The horrible drug that people get hooked on.
Fentanyl.
No, it's the other one like it.
Oh well, there's so many these days. Opioids.
Opioids.
Yeah.
Well,
Ron DeSantis is taking money away from opioid research,
right,
to study on how to get rid of weed.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Exactly.
You can't be that stupid. How can you be that stupid? It's legal in 27 states. What are you doing?
The guy who was actually beating Trump back in about 2022.
Yes, he was.
Until you guys started fucking with Trump and you got his base all worked up, because there was plenty of people who were sick and tired of Trump, who were ready to move on. We've had enough of the MAGA show. You played, you rolled the dice, you lost. Now go back and do like good losers do. But no.
And what he could not do,
it didn't work out
see,
that
this
way.
is something we all know. We all know that we have learned from this last 4 years of politics, is that an Ivy League degree means nothing.
No.
Nothing.
No.
I mean, Ron DeSantis, Yale and Harvard.
Right.
What's his name? Cruz, Princeton and Harvard. Nothing.
But you
Trump's
do
degree
remember,
is from Penn.
you do remember Senator Sam Ervin, though, and I realize I'm going back into the Wayback Machine. You kids, there was a guy named Sam Ervin, and Howard Baker, who was the junior senator on that committee, said, Senator Ervin sits there and talks, and he's proud about being a country lawyer. What he neglects to tell you is he graduated #1 in his class at Harvard. So
well, the thing I always liked about Sam Ervin was, so we're going to get to the bottom of this if it means we have to keep digging until your arms fall off.
But that's what gave us that famous expression. What did the president know, and when did he know it?
That was Howard Baker.
Howard Baker, who later became chief of staff for Reagan in the past couple years, in the last 2 years when Reagan was beginning.
And Frederick Dalton Thompson, who became a fine actor.
Yeah, a senator, a good actor. And he was one of the counsels, and Hillary Clinton served on the Democrat side as a counsel. Bill Clinton was involved. Was he on the committee, or was he just hanging around?
He was the counsel.
Okay.
He was the minority counsel.
I mean, because probably the single most important election in American history, which occurred in 1974, when the people who were presently still in charge in some ways began, were elected.
Do you know what Haldeman said? He said all Nixon had to say was three things. No, he said all Nixon had to say was three things.
Yeah.
I made a mistake.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I won't do it again.
Well, it was G. Gordon Liddy.
He would have never gotten into trouble.
It was G. Gordon Liddy who was behind. Nixon didn't know a damn thing about the break-in. He knew everything.
No, he did not.
The cover-up.
No, he did not.
The cover-up he knew about, and that was what killed him. If he had just said, I'm not sure what happened here, if something went rogue, but the people involved are all going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. You said, I'm sorry, and I won't have this on my campaign.
His distrust of the press.
Yes.
There was a story when he ran for governor and Pat Brown beat him.
Yes.
And they're taking the elevator down to the lobby of that hotel. And he says to Nixon, he says, listen, when we get there, don't say a word to the press. Do you understand that? Not a word. We're going to wave, we're going to walk out, and we're going to be done. You got that? He says, yeah, you're right. No, screw them. No reason to talk to them at all. Right. So when they get there, Kleindienst, that was his name. Assistant.
Richard Kleindienst, yeah.
Kleindienst. So when they get down there, Kleindienst sees an old friend, and this is no exaggeration. 30 seconds he talked to his old friend. He turns around, and there's Nixon giving you won't have Richard Nixon to kick around anymore.
Oh.
And he won't stop talking.
Yeah.
So they asked one of the reporters, so what did Kleindienst do? He said, well, he just kept walking around the block till he got exhausted.
Well,
he said, I begged him, don't say anything. But his mistrust and the hatred of, the great line was when he said to Dan Rather, he said, well, Mr. Rather, are you running for anything? He says, no, sir. Are you?
Are you? Yeah.
Well, Eisenhower did not trust him after the whole Checker speech. In fact, Eisenhower was expecting him to resign from the ticket at the end of the Checker speech, and he didn't do that. And because, and Nixon really wasn't doing anything unusual.
No, So many times these guys overreact.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, the whole thing with Nixon and the checkers speech. You know,
right.
So he said it. Let it go. Gee, just stop. You're not going to replace this guy at that late stage. You're not.
Right. But Eisenhower never trusted him after that.
No, he did. No, he did not.
Even though Nixon had to run the government on 2 separate occasions when Ike had pretty serious heart conditions, and Nixon was a good soldier. And there was a time in Venezuela when Nixon was visiting, and there were crowds surrounding his limo and his. You remember the pictures of the limo getting the roof caved in because people were on top of it. And
that was in Venezuela.
I think, Venezuela, and Eisenhower got on the phone and said, "There's an American carrier group within 35 miles of your territorial waters. You will have my vice president on the deck of that boat in half an hour, right?" And the president of Venezuela got the message right away that when there's an American carrier group 35 miles away,
I also think it was Eisenhower didn't talk about it, but when Nixon was playing grab ass with Mamie, that really sealed the deal.
Well, but it was her satisfied leer that really grated Ike. You know, I mean,
talk about your stink eye.
I mean, Pat was like, "What? I'm chopped liver over here. I've had to put up with this." And now,
you remember that National Lampoon did a thing? Guess when Mamie's going to die.
God.
And the other thing they did was, and this is one of the great print ads of all time. It shows a Volkswagen
floating
up
in
to
the
the window.
Yeah.
And it says, if Ted Kennedy had been driving a Volkswagen, he'd be president today.
I remember that.
Oh dear. Yeah, well, there you go. Well, there we go, folks. By this time next week, Armageddon will be here. The world will be on fire. There'll be blood, violence in the streets. I can't wait.
I'm hoping for the porn version, Armageddon on.
Well, you know, tonight I was either go to the gym or rearrange my adult video collection. So sadly, I went to the gym. I was a good boy.
You know, you got your priorities set.
You know. I mean, what my relatives are going to do with all those VHS tapes when I finally pass, I don't know. But hopefully they don't watch them, in one sitting.
I always thought the most amazing thing to me when you first started getting VHS, you know, and all that kind of thing, I was stunned by the fact that you could watch porno at home on TV. That amazed me.
Wasn't it wonderful?
Porno at home on TV.
You just had to make sure that you didn't turn the volume up too loud.
It opened up many possibilities.
Because your parents were like right upstairs and they would hear it. And
it always amazed me. That and the fact that, you know, it was like my brother-in-law said, "You can do it with your stepsister?"
Oh God!
Sam.
Oh, everything's
Careful,
wrong. Everything is so
going
wrong.
Out live to the public, you know. Allegedly, he said that.
Allegedly.
And by the way, how come all the stepsisters are gorgeous?
Because it's marketing. That's just marketing.
Yeah, that's right.
I never understood that. You know, not one of them ever looks like, "This is my stepsister. You may recognize her as a stunt double for Jack Klugman." I never that.
Hey, time to wrap it up. We've spent a whole hour talking amongst ourselves, and we had Susan here at the beginning with her poem, great poem, and she's putting a collection together. I don't know if anybody was here at the beginning. I don't know if was that on the air.
Should be called, that's an anthology, I believe.
She's doing an anthology, so we'll look forward to that. And other than that, we'll be back here at 8 o'clock Eastern time. If I'm still on the West Coast, it'll be 5 o'clock Pacific. It'll still be 5 o'clock Pacific. I may just be back in Michigan by then. We don't know for sure. Anyway, it's time to get on out of here. So we'll see everybody next week. Good night, everybody.
All right.
Good night. You kids take care.
Oh, I did while I was talking to the dudes in the song. He said, "You should be doing the podcast." So funny you mentioned.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. Well, push the button.
You can't